Welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco, and there's so much craziness going on in our world, and I talk all the time about the pillars of our democracy. Our country was founded on faith and family and all those good things, and in God we trust is on our bills. And everyone's caught up with the confusion between the sentence Black Lives Matter, which everyone would say, of course they do. That, of course, all lives matter. And the truism hidden behind a hashtag, Black Lives Matter, which is really a front organization for a bunch of Marxist anarchists. And people are getting so caught up in this trick that now we have the mainstream media coming out and belittling the president for using our law enforcement, our federal law enforcement, to go out and protect federal properties from these anarchists. It gets crazier by the minute, but I'm just an opinion guy on TV, and a guy who's been in the trenches at all levels joins us to break it down a little further. Bob Barr joins us right now. Bob Barr, if you don't know, was a congressman from Georgia, former federal prosecutor, and former CIA analyst. So he knows about as much about this as anybody out there. Mr. Barr, thank you so much for joining us again. Is Trump in his right here to engage these, what I would call a terrorist organization who's trying to change our country? Is he right to use federal law enforcement?
He is absolutely correct, and if he didn't, he would be derelict in his duty as the President of the United States. Sending federal sworn law enforcement officers to cities where federal facilities and federal personnel are being endangered by violent thugs, and sending federal law enforcement agents and prosecutors to prosecute violations of federal law is, again, not only good and righteous and appropriate for the president, but if he didn't do it, he should be impeached. So,
well, I'm sure they'd never impeach him for that, but they've tried on a whole bunch of other ludicrous levels. I don't know if, I'm sure you're following this Kayleigh McEnany, the new press secretary, and it seems like, if the president and the administration don't send her out there, then they want to know, where is she? Why aren't she asking a question? Then when they do send her out there, it's like an orchestrated effort to gotcha. Everybody wants to get you. And the other day, she kind of just cited some, the reporters saying, well, was the president is right. And she kind of just cited federal code as, anywhere there's a federal building under attack being threatened, we have every right to go down there. Why does the mainstream media not even want to look at our own federal rules and just try to make it into, an opinion debate?
It's because the left and the mainstream media and academicians and the Democrat Party have become absolutely consumed with their hatred for Trump. And their hatred for Trump colors everything that they do right now. They don't care what the law is. They don't care what the facts are. They don't care who gets hurt. All that they want to do is do everything possible to ensure that President Trump is not reelected. They have no regard for people. They have no regard for our country. And if, in fact, President Trump were to be defeated, we would see a very, very swift descent into absolute chaos in this country, economic, social, political, and from a society standpoint.
Yeah, it seems pretty scary. Hey, I want to ask you something. This may be, still within some of your classifications, if you still have low-level classifications, but I've been trying to, there's so many conspiracy theories out there, the Q, the 4chan, this, that, all these other things, right? And, try to be a good newsman. I'm doing homework on top of homework. Do you think it's okay to be reliant on Freedom of Information Act documents? Is that like a good source in your view as a CIA analyst?
It can be. The problem with FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests, is that, one, they often take a long time to get the information. But more importantly, there are so many exceptions written into the Freedom of Information Act law, both the federal and many of the state counterparts, that what you do often is even if you get back something, it has been heavily redacted. In other words, black lined, because there might be information regarding a personnel matter or an ongoing investigation or sensitive classified information. But if you look, for example, at some of the work that the Judicial Watch has done over the years, they have become masters at using the FOIA very effectively. But just for the average person to rely on the FOIA to get information is, to be honest, not very productive the way the law is set up.
So yeah, that leads me to my next question. So I've been, for research, putting a little more weight behind already publicly released FOIA documents that they're the government documents, unless someone's posting something fake, but I don't see that. There's seems to be government records that are 30 and 40 years old that have been obtained through Judicial Watch and others that demonstrate that the CIA has had a long-standing relationship with Hollywood and the major entertainment companies that control television, movies, and radio entertainment. And I feel like that, you know, while it seems like there are thousands of choices out there, it really all comes down to like three major media organizations: Disney, Time Warner, Comcast. These control all these other channels. Do you think that there is some coordination at some level between the CIA and the major entertainment companies that allow the media to be so tilted?
There is, and there has been, and it's very troubling, not only because our intelligence community and our foreign intelligence agencies are supposed to be insulated from becoming involved in domestic matters and focus on international matters, and they have very extensive powers not available to law enforcement to do that. But also, the problem is, in recent years, the technological interfacing between technology companies here domestically and the media industry, which relies on that technology, using or interfacing in partnership with intelligence agencies, and including the FBI also, its intelligence arm, because they both, that is, these government agencies and corporate America, including Hollywood, which is very corporate these days, they both rely on technology to obtain information and database information, maybe for different purposes. Commercial industry uses it for commercial purposes, advertising and identifying consumer tastes and so forth. The government uses databasing of personal and private information that they can gain through partnership with these private and commercial entities. They use it to database information that can be used to invade the privacy of individuals. So it is a problem that has grown in importance because of the technology in recent years, and getting to the bottom of it is something that Congress ought to be doing far more intently than it has been.
Yeah, it seems to me that, you know, there's mounting evidence out there that these major media companies actually control the narrative that goes even down to local news broadcast channels of what they want the public to hear. And even though Trump has found, you know, Twitter, it's like, you know, one man against a mob as far as I could see it, because he you know, they're controlling the message so badly. I've never seen a president attacked this much in my whole life. I'm 52 years old.
Well, I'm a little bit older, and I have never seen it either. It was bad under President Nixon, but far worse nowadays. In your point about local media being controlled by these international conglomerates for their news sources and what they distribute and disseminate to the American people is very, very important and very much on point. As media, as the electronic media overtakes local newspapers, for example, and even state and national newspapers that are losing readership, those newspapers, those that have continued to be able to survive, rely more and more not on local, hands-on, on-the-ground reporting, but simply on what they get from a handful of media sources.
Yep.
And then that becomes, a snowballing effect. They rely on it. They lose readership. They rely on it more, and local media becomes largely simply a mouthpiece for the liberal national media.
Thank you so much. That he couldn't have said it better, and that's why we bring this guy on, because he's the best out there. Mr. Barr, thank you so much for joining us on Liquid Lunch, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Look forward to it.
Thank you. All right, you're watching Liquid Lunch, where we serve you the news with the booze. We're going to take a quick break, crack open a cold one. We'll be back right after this.